And good afternoon if you're in the East Coast or somewhere around Central Time, or good Saturday morning if you're Susie all the way out in the Wild West. Fantastic result, boys. 3-0 to Liverpool against United away at Old Trafford. The stats may say that United had a bit more of the ball and a similar amount of shots, but Brian, did we look threatened at all during that game?
I mean, not really. I mean, there's a couple of times that there where I thought Xerxes could have done better with the ball right there, and it probably could have had some more of an opportunity. But that right there, I think we handled our business well.
So it was not the explosive Klopp type game we were expecting. I think Cozzy called it that they did come out the blocks for the first. He said 20 minutes, but I think they died on their feet like about 11 minutes in. And that disallowed goal going in seemed to puncture their bubble a bit. Allison had to make some saves. I'm not going to say fairly standard, but he handled them. They were kind to him, to put it one way. But we're so used to the heavy metal chaos football, and we're so used to before that the creative football that left a lot of gaps under Rodgers, and then two managers before that, the ultimate control that was so tight that you just wished Rafa would let the players off the reins.
Yeah.
Arnie Slot looks like he's developing a team that's almost the best of all those worlds right now, isn't it?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, Allison did what he gets paid to do. So obviously he's going to get shots, and having the best keeper in the world, you expect him to make them saves. And obviously they do look good when he doesn't. But yeah, like you're saying, it's a combination of Rafa and Klopp. Like Brian, 3 games in, and I haven't had to go for my blood pressure tablets this season yet. Even when we don't have the ball, I'm still confident that we're going to win it back. And everyone keeps saying, "Oh, well, we've only played 2 easy games," and I think Brentford are a better team than Man United. And Man United, they're just self-destructive. I called it at the pre-show that I think we were going to win 3-0. I didn't see them. I was quietly confident. I didn't really see them scoring today. And we could have been a lot more. We could have won that 4-5, 5-0, and that's just being conservative.
Brian, we talked about Gravenberg beforehand and what impact he might have on the game. And you said before we went on air that he looked like a new player, and he really does. He looks like I think the number 6 in the slot system has a lot less responsibility to protect the back four than under Klopp, because it was so chaotic and you probably had more space to cover. Because of that, he just looks like he's been like the veteran, like he's been Jordan Henderson in disguise for the last few weeks. And we're, maybe not worried so much about getting the DM over the summer transfer.
I don't think we need it. I don't think we need a solid. I mean, I can see getting a solid DM if we were playing a system like you said with as Klopp played. But this is like a hybrid. I mean, he's a hybrid 6. So I think that we're good with what we have. Because if you look at slot system, the ball goes through the middle of the pitch, and so he's handling that control. And then you let McAllister be able to go there and switch off. I said, I think I said last week in the last post match right there, the relationship right there between McAllister and Gravenberch is growing, and I think that they've got a very good understanding about who's going and who's coming and who's going in the center of the pitch. As you watch McAllister came there, made some pretty decent runs through there to link up with Szoboszlai through that middle of the pitch, and you saw Gravenberch actually drift over one time to the touchline, which I was like, why is he over the touchline? But if you look at it, it all makes sense when you go through and look at the high view of how this side is forming up. So I think that Gravenberch he's feeling like he belongs, and I think that's the one thing that he hasn't had yet. Because even at Bayern, he never really fit into their system when they bought him from Ajax. So I think that that this is something that I think that if you can keep on giving this kid confidence, he's going to grow and grow.
See, I said something in the Discord which everybody should be signed up to, but I said that Jota looked a little bit lost up front. Nunes hasn't looked comfortable when he's gone up front, as we discussed pre-match. It's almost like 2 different games are going on. is it possible we now have to start considering looking for a slot number 9 in the winter transfer, because we do need somebody up there doing something. If they're not scoring goals, then they must be creating goals, or at least creating the pressure pockets that the likes of Salah and Diaz can play underneath. Jota, you would think, would be the player that would have flourished under Klopp, but he was practically invisible at points, wasn't he? Or am I being too?
I think we're reading too much into it. I think today was kind of invisible. I think, but that's more to the De Ligt playing really well. I think De Ligt played Jota out the game, and I can't remember the last time Jota played 3 games in a row. So it's something, when he's not used to, we're not used to as supporters. And he's had an off game. I think it's unfair to base it on just the one game. I mean, it wasn't terrible, and he didn't get that many balls to him, to be fair. But yeah, I think De Ligt played him out of the game, which is fair enough. You've got to hold your hands up, and the defender's better than the attacker in that sense. I don't think that's cause for concern. And even then, we've got Chiesa. So even you don't have Nunez or Jota playing well. Chiesa, he played in the middle for Juventus last season. So no, I think we're good. You can't really. I don't take any negatives away from this game, other than Szoboszlai, for whatever reason, did not want to shoot. Other than that, he had a brilliant game, but I don't know why he didn't shoot.
Just do you think there's anything to be said, though, that the players like Jota are so used to the Klopp way that they may take a little bit more used to the more patient style and timing the runs and being inactive for short periods of the game, whereas before they'd have to keep, changing the runs, go here, change direction here. It's not that he's clearly not a bad player, but the slot system is, as we said before, it's a bit more cerebral than the Klopp system, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's like 5. Jota was 4 or 5 years, so there's like 5 years of muscle memory of, doing something a particular way, and then now they just have to unlearn what they learned. But no, he'll come good. I mean, he's scored two this season so far, or was it 1? But no, he's a threat. And just to have someone like Nunez come off the bench, it's Nunez I worry about more. But I think he needs the minutes. I don't think he's been given enough minutes to show himself in the system. But yeah, no, it's as much as Jota might be like reverting back to type in the Klopp ways. Like we've seen Gravenberch and Maka, like that's the combination we didn't think we needed, and look at it. It's just they're probably the 2 of the best midfielders so far, and I know we're only 3 games in, but I don't see a better midfield than what we have out there in the Premier League right now.
Brian, in terms of the system, Trent Alexander-Arnold has been talked about a lot in what Rowley before him. He seems to be playing more or less a traditional fullback, but it's like he's been told, pick your moments to step into the central midfield instead of doing it every single time we get it. And he looks a bit refreshed, doesn't he? I mean, he threw that strop the last time he was taken off, but he was taken off today, and he didn't. The biggest strop he was throwing was which seat he was going to sit on. He was trying to reorganize all the subs so he could sit inside a particular chair. But he looks almost as dangerous now as when he first started, to me. Do you agree with that? Do you think there's a more focus to what his role is that plays to his strengths, but also gives him that little bit of that luxury of the freedom of being in the positions he probably wants to be in? Really,
I think that Trent's gonna. I would hope that Slot probably talked to Trent after the last match, after the little tip that he had on there that says, it's a long season. There's a lot of matches in there. It's all about conservation and keeping the player and keeping fitness and health first. If you come already killed off a match, there's no sense in you going there and staying there for 90 minutes right there just to run up in there and risk injury. You're gonna have to go away for the England for internationals here tomorrow. There's no sense of doing that anymore right there. Hey, kill a match off, get your subs there, give Bradley the moment, the time that he needs. As far as like his runs and all that, he still does his drifting drifting inside when he goes onto the front toward the front third of the pitch, but But I mean, today, like he handled his defending very well. That the knock that he did against Rashford right there was good defending, and I think that maybe those of getting back to basics. I know we always harp on Trent with his defending and stuff like that, but the Klopp system didn't want him to defend. It wanted him to make these like dynamic runs, and we're not doing that anymore. Everything's going through the middle of the pitch. So I think that this could be very refreshing for Trent. I mean, I'd be more refreshed if he put his signature on a piece of paper. But but I mean that's a whole other topic right there on that we have for all these players that we want to get contracts wrapped up.
So see, let's flip to the other side of the pitch. Andy Robertson's 300th game as a Liverpool player, apparently. He looks like he's enjoying it again. Not that he wasn't enjoying it under Klopp, but he certainly looked maybe a bit jaded and tired from the constant running. But now players pick their runs. We rest with the ball a lot more than we ever did under Klopp. Do you think that's going to give him a new lease of life that will give us maybe another year or two to find his replacement, which isn't going to be Tsimikas, as much as we love that kid. He's a dedicated kid, but he doesn't have that quality. Is Slot going to be very good for both Robertson's extension of his career before he goes to Celtic with Brendan Rodgers at the end to fulfill his destiny, as they might say, and then give us a chance, maybe blood somebody from the academy or find a player that we can fit in slowly over time, because a refreshed Robertson is an incredibly useful player, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think like with Trent, I think they're more controlled now. They're less. I think there's less reliance on them overlapping the wingers, like we did Mane and Salah. Everything just seems more controlled. So, like Brian was saying, they're picking and choosing when to go, and Robbo's doing the same. And the fact that we're going to have to run their legs off will obviously definitely extend Robertson's career as a player. And even, hopefully he decides to retire from Scotland, and now it'll extend it even more. And, we don't have to rely on anyone else. I mean, it's probably one of the best left backs we've had from what I remember in our history. And it's, and he goes understated because he's Scottish. But like Mourinho, he's not a fool. He knows, to get accolades from Mourinho, like, it shows you how great a player he is. So yeah, I think with this more controlled approach to the game, our players will be less injured. The fact that McAllister's played 3 games in a row now, like 90 minutes, is just like testimony to that. And I think going back to the Trent thing, I think that was a bit of a PR stunt. I think someone's probably pulled him aside or starts pulling him aside and said, "Look, we're going to pull you off again," and just do the opposite of what he did last week. Just shows that it's not hard for you. And that's exactly what happened.
Brian, we talked about Trent and his contract, but Mo and his contract are equally important, or rather clarification. If he's not gonna, if he's gonna go, I think everybody would rather just know that, so then we can, not be upset if somebody takes a spot in games. But he showed again that he still obviously has quality. But I said at the pre-season that the more timed runs and the less emphasis on counterattacks may help him rest a bit more, so that his speed isn't diminishing as it was over the last 2 years. And he looked pretty fast today. He got a well-deserved goal. Probably could have had another one, and he looked like the Salah of old, didn't he? With a new celebration.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the assist of how he's actually drawing back, and actually his vision right there. He's reimagined himself as a player. I mean, yeah, we still got the Mo with the dynamics right there of going in and taking shots, but that setup that he had for Diaz's first goal was a thing of beauty. I mean, I mean, the lob right there, for him just to go and get to it. I mean, you can't get any prettier than what that was. I mean, that was a fantastic goal. So I think that, I mean, I want Mo to sign. I mean, so you look at that, it's 2 assists and a goal right there on today, along with all the other assists he's had throughout the season right there. I mean, what more do you want from him right there? Give him I mean, give him a 2-year deal. I mean, then that way it'll take him up till probably about 33 and stuff like that. Then reassess it right through there. But I mean, he's easily in a physical shape right there to play until he's like 34, 35 at a high level. I mean, and for whatever he wants to play. But again, the same thing goes with Allison right there. I mean, again, point blank saves. I know we're probably skipping subjects on that, but again, contracts. Get these guys wrapped up. I mean, it's important right there. I think that for the longevity of our club to have these guys when they're still at their peak, to have somebody go back behind right there, more of a middleman who can go and dip right back in behind them. I mean, kind of like how Chiesa right there will probably go right back into Phil Mo's role in like 2 seasons in there. I mean, if we nurture him. So I mean, it's all about the rhythm. It's the thing that we didn't do after we won the Champions League in 2019. We never filled up those middle spots and stuff like that. So without filling these middle spots right there, you leave to aging players that can't function very well anymore. I mean, but we still have, and you leave the gap, letting the cities right there basically take advantage and win 3 leagues in a row. I mean, because we didn't fill those spots that we should have filled.
So see, let's flip the kind of the mentality a bit. If you're a Manchester United fan and you see Slot coming in June, July, has just literally a pre-season and has taken a team that has won trophies, and just all he did was made little tweaks here and there, and it's already looking like Arne Slot's team. And then you look at Erik ten Hag, who's been there for at least 2 seasons, I think 2.5 seasons, and yeah, he's won a couple of trophies, but they look dreadful. The first 15 minutes they looked up for it rather than organized, but after that there was no passion, there was no structure to what they were doing, and we were cutting through their midfield like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah.
You already hate Liverpool fans as a Manchester United fan, but this must enrage you at this point.
Yeah, I think it's to be expected. I'm trying to think back to how we played on, like, with Hodgson and Rodgers that second
Don't
season.
do that. Don't try and think
well,
back
that's
to
the
those times.
closest I can think of how a Man United fan will feel. And trying to cross a freeway blindfolded would be my reaction to that. So, but the teams are an extension of their manager, and you see Slot calm and just calculated. That's how we play, and Man United play how Ten Hag is. Comes across kind of stern, maybe professional, but then just loses it. Like, he has no clue of what he's doing. They may as well just bring like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer back, and at least I can have some kind of enjoyment here and there. I know that was my fear when you got Slot. I just thought it was a Dutch thing. We saw Louis van Gaal did kind of similar to Ten Hag, just very, kind of like school teacherish and just losing the plot. And that was my fear of Slot. And luckily we haven't got that version of a Dutch manager. But Ten Hag, I think as a Liverpool fan, the worst thing that can happen is that they fire Ten Hag and they get a good manager, because they've got some good players. They have got really good players there, especially regarding coming in. So with a decent manager, they might be able to turn it around. But I just hope Ten Hag just signs another 10-year contract there or something, and we will be all good.
Brian, to keep it on the Manchester United fans thing, when you look at Arne Slot and the moves he makes and subs, and you look at what the players are doing, and then you look at Erik ten Hag, who Arne Slot has come in with almost zero fanfare. I mean, he came in, as we all famously know, we didn't see him for like 3 weeks. There was no interview, no special LFC TV 5-minute, catch up with Arne Slot. We even questioned whether he was even an actual person. Whereas Ten Hag was, the whole spiel was he was going to bring his Ajax football to Manchester United, which was heralded at that time for how he did in Europe with it. But 2 years later, you're still waiting. And 11 years now since Ferguson left and bequeathed them with David Moyes, who was an abject failure, as much of a nice man as he seems to be. But he was an abject failure at Manchester United and has been going up and downhill ever since. As a Man United fan, you'd probably be very envious of Liverpool. But for us as Liverpool fans, we really have to say that we have a better succession plan. As much as we criticise FSG for the transfers part, they've really nailed it with the manager appointments, haven't they?
Well, at first I thought Arnie Slot was hanging out with Calvin Ramsey for the first 3 weeks with their, but yeah, I mean, I really think that this as looking at the United supporters there, I think the most disillusioned thing I would have right there is that you didn't get Ugarte across the line in time right there to make a difference in that midfield. And they sold Scott McTominay right there, who I think would have made a big difference for them. I mean, because they had nobody to put in that middle of the pitch right there when they made their subs. I mean, you had Mainu that was on a card. I mean, and then you basically had Casemiro, who had a complete nightmare of a match. I mean, so you had nothing to go by, and I think McTominay could have made a big difference for them. I'd have to be. And also, when you look back there, you see that you have both Maguire and Johnny Evans warming up on the side right there. I mean, how could you have a positive view upon anything right now if you're seeing that right at the moment that you don't have any other options on there? You spent a pile of money for stuff that you can't use. I mean, yeah, I think that Euro may help them out like that in there, but again, you spent 60 mil on an 18-year-old that has 1 year left of his contract. It's stupid money. I mean, and I'm glad that I'm actually glad that FSG decided not to go for that right there, because it's dumb. It's a dumb move. I mean, financially, and it's also a risk you're taking with the 18-year-old kid. So I mean, there's a lot of risk taking that they've made on that side right there, and I think a lot of it hasn't actually come good for them. They've had players that have been in and out of their pitch. I think that Williams right there, which one of their I think it was their right back on there, was a decent player. They came there, they signed Onana, which to me right there has not been a great keeper for them. I mean, I think that, and you let Dean Henderson go, who would have been who is a good keeper. Obviously saw today with him with Crystal Palace. I mean, so it's just weird moves that they've made and stuff like that. So as a United supporter, be pretty disillusioned at the moment right now to know that, guess what, you're sixth or below. You're not gonna breach that top five anymore, not anytime soon right there. Even though you made these signings that you've made, Xerxes right there maybe will come good, but again, he's got to work on his second touch, because there were so many times watching him. If he'd have made the second touch right there, he'd probably had a shot on goal, but he just came there and just stumbled through there, and instead of actually making that shot. So yeah, I'd be pretty hard done by right now as a United supporter.
Sorry, not to bring everyone down. Salah's just admitted this is his last year at Liverpool.
I know. I saw the thing come across with Kazi. I hope we can come there can figure that out. I mean, I really do. I think that he's got two good years left in him right there, at least right there in at a top level. And I thought we'd get away from this whole thing of letting players go for frees. I mean, it just doesn't do us any good.
I think, though, seeing as that's kind of breaking news, Susie, maybe stands to what I said earlier in the show, is that now at least we know we can have a succession plan. We can say, maybe it's Chiesa, maybe he's going to be the Salah replacement, or maybe he's going to be the Jota replacement, and we're going to find somebody else. Or maybe he's going to be the Nunes replacement, and we still have to look for Salah. But then at least knowing that he's not going to be here after next season, regardless of whether we pursue, an attempt to change his mind, at least knowing helps us in the future more than not knowing, correct?
Yeah, it's better to know than not know, but then you kind of just like not knowing, you still have that kind of hope that he does sign, but I guess it's kind of like, okay, it's like a nail in the coffin, I guess. But I mean, you can tell he looks refreshed. So if he helps us win the title, then so be it, and we move on, I guess.
I mean, lots of faith in Chiesa right there because I know Chiesa can play 4 different positions up in the front. I mean, but it also the same thing goes. If you have somebody who's actually still playing high impact football, why are you going to go in there and not at least give them a 1 or 2 year deal? I mean, that's just my thinking.
Can we criticize FSG for like Salah having to say that at this point rather than having it wrapped up over the summer?
It's I don't know. I mean, is it FSG or is it Edwards? Is it like we read between the lines somewhere? I think FSG are an easy scapegoat, and I think people forget how much they've done for us.
I mean, when I say FSG, I mean that whole structure. Like whoever's in charge of the contracts, are probably not interested in trying to convince Salah, or maybe.
Oh yeah, I mean it's and again, I think the blame lies on Edwards and Hughes to try and get it done. But I know they'll probably blame Klopp and the previous regime for not getting it done. I don't know. It's kind of soured the day a bit, but it's I don't know. I can't imagine life without Salah playing on the right wing right now.
Let's try and turn up the positivity a little bit, Brian, because there was a shot on camera of Chiesa watching the game. If you're Chiesa and you see Liverpool away, 3rd game of the season, brand new manager dominating their fiercest rivals, and he's knowledgeable enough to know who United are to Liverpool, you must be incredibly excited to start working with this team.
Oh, absolutely. And if anybody's watched the Liverpool FC, their official Chiesa signing video, how could you not like Chiesa? I mean, he's such a genuine guy. I mean, it was so refreshing watching him. He genuinely wants to come play here. I mean, him looking at the Premier League trophy, he didn't really. I mean, and saying, "Wow, there it is," and just stuff like that. I mean, I'm excited by Chiesa. I mean, it's like, yeah. I mean, a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's $100 million. He was $100 million player at like 2-3 seasons ago. Now he's only for 10." I mean, but again, it's just he's still that player. Juventus had to go there and clear off a salary that they were forced to get rid of Chiesa because they had to. I mean, and there were no takers right there and all that, and they got rid of. But as Chiesa, I'd be excited. I mean, he knows about the club. He said on his limo ride through there. It's like, I've been watching videos. I've been watching this. I've been looking at things. He's already know how to speak to Anfield. He's excited about this. So yeah. As equally as he's excited, I'm excited. So I hope there's going to be a very prosperous future with our relationship with them.
So they were, 3 games in, doesn't really matter table position right now, but would you have expected us to be looking more like a challenger to City than, say, United did pre-season? Because United were getting touted for being top 4 challengers. I don't know why, but they were. Arsenal have already dropped points, and I agree with Brian. I think our midfield looks better than theirs because their midfield is almost entirely dependent on Odegaard. And if anything happens to him, I think they're going to be in big trouble. I would take a league title challenge this year as a bonus. I think just getting into the top 4 and getting slots feet under the table and making this team slots team, so that we can remember Klopp's days fondly rather than do what happened after Rafa, which is for a long time, I wish Rafa was back. Or Rafa should be given a second chance, which I think hurt every manager up to Jurgen Klopp, including Kenny Dalglish, as legendary as he was. But it'd be a nice bonus, wouldn't it, if we really did happen on a unicorn of a manager who was smart enough to take the best of what was before him and add to it rather than change everything wholesale.
Yeah, I expected us to challenge. I mean, if we go back to when the first show of the season, I did earmark us to win the league, and I wasn't trying to be flippant about it. I really think we had the players. Like, I think we just needed minor tweaks or 1 or 2 players to actually form a challenge. The fact that you can tell, like, the clean sheet means so much to Slot. And the fact that training is completely changed. Like, I think the acid test will be post-January, and we'll see how many players drop off. and I don't think that many players are going to drop off for injuries as they did with Klopp and Linders because they're not being run to the hill. So, and I think that's what killed us. I think that's what killed us the seasons that we didn't win the league because our players are dropping off for injuries, like their bodies just couldn't take it no more. So I do expect us to win the title or come second at the very least.
Brian, before we wrap up for this afternoon, we get to enjoy our Labor Day weekends. What is your takeaway from this game? Is there an overall tactical takeaway? Is there a takeaway for Man United and Liverpool rivalry, or is there a player that you noticed today that you think is going to have a damn good season on the performances for the first 3 games?
My biggest takeaway is another clean sheet. I mean, that's something that we have to continue building off of. But again, Gravenberch, third match that he's played right there where he stood out. I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, I said McAllister was going to be an impact player, and obviously Gravenberch to me was his counterpart was the impact player. And again, those are my takeaways on there. It's a clean sheet. Gravenberch coming there and look like a revitalized player, and we're actually playing yacht rock versus heavy metal. So I'm enjoying it.
Are you like me though? There's still a bit of PTSD about conceding the first goal, and it's just shocking that we aren't.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because I was expecting right there, I mean, even last year, it's almost the first 15 minutes was chaos in every single match. And I don't see that anymore. I mean, we got United in the first 5 minutes right there. We're taking it to us and all that. And we just kicked it, just rode that wave right there and then let them do it. And then they tired, like Kazi said, they tired out in like 15, 20 minutes. So they were done. I mean, so it's a whole different type of mentality. We're organized. And it doesn't seem like we don't seem stressed. And again, no more heart medicine right there for half of us older folks.
Susie, first of all, before we even ask you the final question, tell everybody the name of your book so we can start plugging it more.
Oh, it's called COVID, Healing, and the Aftermath.
I mean, that's that everybody's going to be buying that. As soon as we get graphics for it, we can plug it properly. But what are your takeaways from this game in any aspect? Because I want to end on you. My takeaway is just number one, Gravenberch looks like he's found a spot at Liverpool. And number 2, we just look like we have hit lightning in a bottle yet again with the manager, and I think we can be confident of a good season, regardless of what trophies we win or don't win. I think we're in good hands with Arne Slot. But what do you think, Susie?
No, I totally agree. I think, and like Brian, the key takeaway is definitely that clean sheet. Gravenberch standing out. Even Szoboszlai, other than that, not taking a shot. He's our midfield are going understated, and that's a good thing. And we're just, I would say we've probably got the best midfield trio in the league right now. I know it's small sample size, we keep saying it, but every game counts. Not conceding, that's going to help towards a goal difference. And as long as we keep scoring, that's it. It's it's only onwards and upwards.
I think that's as good a statement as anything to end on, because we are going to have a dip at some point during the season, but I don't think we have a manager who's going to panic like let's say like Rodgers did because he wasn't used to that level of scrutiny. That when it did dip, he didn't know how to get out of it for a long time. Whereas now at Celtic and at Leicester, he's more experienced. It's just unfortunate that he had to learn it on our watch. But Arne Slot already has that knowledge, and he looks like he's going to be a perfectly safe pair of hands for us. And I don't think we're not going to see the emotional highs, I don't think, of Jurgen Klopp. And we may never love Arne Slot the way we love Jurgen Klopp, but at least
if we win the league, we will.
At least, well, yes, but every week was a roller coaster week for us as Liverpool fans under Klopp, and our cardiologists will thank him for it, I think.
This will put one more point on here. I do think this is going to be a big 2 weeks for Nunez right there. He won't be away on an international break, and I think this will be some time for him to go back on the training pitch and work out and try to get himself figured into the system right there. Because if he doesn't get himself figured into the system, like I said on the pre-match, he's not going to be in the system. He's going to get worked out.
I also think the next 2 weeks are just like it's typical Liverpool. We end we end this weekend with a great win, and now for the next 2 weeks we've got questions about what did Salah really mean what he said, or was he misinterpreting? And then if that is true, what happens with Verge and Trent, because their contracts on? It's just typical Liverpool.
It gives our
2 weeks.
It gives our
Just being
podcast
happy.
something to talk about, though. That's the good thing. We have something to talk about in every podcast. Nick says Slot surpassed his expectations in the first 3 games. I think we could probably all agree with that. I don't think anybody expected, as rampant a start as we've had and as comfortable a start as we've had. And long may it continue. For everybody else, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the comments. And enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Thank you to Brian and Sir Z for the pre and the post-match participation. I don't know if we're going to have the morning coffee tomorrow, but it's being Labor Day and everybody being in Chicago. But
they're hungover.
They're probably all hungover. But we probably will have the Monday podcast, and we definitely have the Thursday podcast, and then the EPL shows in between. And we will hopefully have a special Thursday podcast for everybody. But we will get all the links and info when we do. Make sure you're buying Saz's book. It's very important. And we want to give them a plug. But everybody else, enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Try and turn your alarm clocks off if you're allowed to, and then have a nice little lie-in. I fully intend to do that. Make sure you're liking and subscribing, smashing the like button, or tapping it nice and gently if you have a delicate keyboard. On YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Join our Discord to see more of the madness, and our Patreon to get more of the good stuff. But for us, guys, it was a successful Sunday. Set up a good weekend. If you're a Celtic fan as well, they won 2 against Rangers. So, if you're into that kind of thing, nice derby wins and Arsenal drawn. But we won't talk about City because Haaland keeps scoring hat-tricks. But for us, we will see everybody soon, and enjoy it. I've got donuts upstairs. That's all I care about at this point in time. So have a good one, Suzanne. Have a good one, Brian. And peace out to everybody. Enjoy the weekend. Here's the trap music. Bye.